Hey everyone, it's tea time with Pink Crush 808 again. See, even he's rushing to get some tea. So anyways, oh my god. Okay, so I just always something new. There's always something new. Okay, I know I did my rant about the VA the last time, okay, and I know I said some pretty strong statements like you can keep your benefits and live somewhere else. That doesn't mean that I would ever renounce my American citizenship. I am proud to have served in the United States Army. I am proud to be a U.S. citizen. So by no chance I was saying that I was going to renounce my citizenship because of something like that. But it would be very disappointing, to have served and sacrificed to receive, so that the end game would be you get guardianship. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that anything was implemented yet. This is more of a prevention thing. So for me, I like to be proactive. Prevention, okay? Because once it's in motion, it's in motion. You can't stop it. I mean, once it's in motion, as in it's already done, that's going to be an uphill battle. But me, as far as my service and stuff like that, I'm not trying to be like every other disgruntled fucking veteran and be like, fuck you guys, like, I'll be mad. I'm disappointed that it was even an issue or a situation where they would write that into policy. Very, very disappointed. But I mean, there may be other cases where they dealt with veteran communities. So one of the best parts of America is our veteran community, and one of the worst is our veteran community to work with, because we have strong opinions, we have a strong character, and it is because, I mean, the service ain't for the weak of heart. If you are the weak of heart, you're going to learn very fast to be thick-skinned and have a strong heart. So it's not that I'm one of those disgruntled people that is like, fuck my U.S. citizenship. No. By no part, no. I think I invested way too much for me to have developed that affect, and I know the system way too much to do that. To have that type of affect, because although it's a democracy that has a bureaucratic system. So our country is a democracy that has a bureaucratic system, meaning you have authorities and powers involved that the citizens vote into office. And a lot of the authorities that sit on high, it's through the support of the citizens. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because it prevents the citizens from being oppressed from certain political concepts or governmental concepts such as communism and socialism. But it's a bad thing because if the masses are manipulated, which they highly are, obviously we can all see that, okay? Because if that were not the case, then Islam wouldn't be sneaking into the political realm. It wouldn't happen. But because the masses are not that smart and they're easily influenced and manipulated, then these things, bad things can happen. Bad things can happen when you're misinformed. Bad things can happen when when you're uninformed. But if you're informed, which unfortunately a lot of you have to go to college or you have to have a mentor to do that for you, then you're always going to be uninformed. You're going to be one of the manipulated. For me personally, I put people into two classifications: the manipulator or the manipulated. There's only two classes. I mean, and that's not it kind of breaks down to a socioeconomic classification if you think about it. Because socioeconomic, you're either going to be highly influential or influential. Let's keep it at that. It can break down into even further smaller divisions when you get into that influential division, or you're the influenced. See? So you have the influential and the influence, which does break down into an economic, socioeconomics classification. And whoa, I almost swallowed a clove. So the masses are the influenced or the manipulated, and those who are influencing them, who usually have the agenda, if any at all. And even some of the people that you see as authoritative figures and figures of power are actually manipulated. you know what I'm saying? And if you don't know, then just probably it's better that you don't. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and that's why sometimes you should remain ignorant. Maybe you should be the manipulated, because there's more peace in that area. But when shit hits the fucking fan and the shit rolls down the mountain, you're usually the one that's gonna catch it. That's the only shitty part about being the influenced. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it doesn't mean that I renounce my love for my country. It doesn't mean that I renounce my pride in serving. Do not. That's not even in the fucking equation. Okay. It also means for me, because I had, been active in the veterans committee for the Democratic Party, which I'm no longer part of. It means that I feel I may have failed to be more active in the policy, in the policy, in the groups that created the policy, because it should have graced my ears, or I should have been more proactive about these things. Don't happen overnight. So it's not one of those overnight shit that just pops up and you're like, oh my god, I'm sideblinded. These things happen with time, and I feel like it was kind of even my own responsibility that I actually missed that, and now it's at a point where it can actually be executed and implemented as policy for the VA. And when I got involved, when I became a veteran, actually before I became a veteran, yeah, it was before I became a veteran when I enlisted. I was already in politics. Matter of fact, I was already engaged in the politics. I mean, I decided to support the veterans because before I explain why, just understand this. Everyone has a driving force as to why they do things. And so most often that driving force has something to do with them. So I knew that after I served my first contract, I would become a veteran if I could make that contract. Because although you may step in and say, yeah, I get it, I'm almost there, I'm going to be a veteran. No, you're not. No. I'm sorry, but it doesn't always work that way, okay? For those of you who are in the service right now, because if you do something stupid and you get a dishonorable discharge, then I personally, I think that the veteran status should always be with you if you served, but with consequences come, with stupid actions come consequences, all right? Just put it at that. Now, not everybody will have a veteran status. The guy or the girl who enlisted and she was at BCT, but they never passed it, they never graduated, they're not going to have that veteran status. For some strange reason, everybody thinks if you just sign the contract before BCT, before you complete BCT, they think that they're already they fucking think they're a veteran. They think that they're a soldier, or they think that they're a service member already. You're not until you graduate. So you gotta put up with the shit. You gotta stay strong. You gotta do everything that you're told to do, and in the right way that you're told to do. and show that you're competent to be one, it's not a joke, where it's not super simple like how most people think, you know. And I think the one community group that had a complete misunderstanding of serving was in college. They thought that if I signed that paper, then I'm automatically, you know, I'm a service member. And there's nothing to it. You don't need to be smart. You know, that was a rumor. People would say that all the time. You don't need to be smart. That's the last chance and the last resort. I shit you not. I'll tell you right now, that's not true. That's not your last resort. Matter of fact, if you're not smart enough, you can't get in. If you're not smart enough, you can't get in. You have to take a test before you enter the service. So when you look at a service member and you think, oh, that may have been your last chance, or you just, you know, you don't know anything because you probably enlisted when you were high school. No, they were smart enough to pass the test. Which I know people who failed the test, you know. I know people who failed the test. I know people who never took the test because they were afraid. You know, they had the fear factor. I don't want to go to war. I don't want to, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, to me, when I see that, it's like, yeah, if you have that character and you have that mentality, then you should stay out. It takes a special person to be enlisted. It takes a special person to be commissioned, you know? And it's not one of those, if I sign my name on the line, then I'm automatically in. No, there is processes. You sign your name on the line, that's the first process. You ship off, you have to have what it takes to graduate. You have to have what it takes to graduate. You have drill instructors that will get you there if you listen. But if you don't listen, and it's really hard, I've seen people fail. Yeah, I did. It was because, you know, they didn't listen. But there are people who fail it. They don't make it through. They get injured. They don't listen. They rebel. That kind of character, excluding the ones who get injured, but everyone else. When it comes to character, building character and building character personalities, if you don't make the cut, then it's probably best that you don't make it, because it takes a certain person with a certain character and mindset to graduate and to move forward and complete those contracts. You all think that it's just a super simple process where you don't have to be intelligent. That's not true. If you step into the service, you better be intelligent. You're gonna have 301 shit flying at you, and you got to be able to think. It tests you. I'll tell you what, prior to joining the service, I was a weak ass person with a fucking weak personality. A lot of things would hurt my feelings, you know. Well, actually, no, because my dad was Army infantry, active duty Army infantry. So he had that, he instilled that, you know, mental toughness in us, but people would annoy me. And the things that people would do prior to joining the service would make me upset, and it would really disturb my peace. And it was joining the Army, getting through those contracts, that developed a character in me that was pretty unfuckwithable. Like, I knew when I would sit in certain committees, or when I would be around a certain group of people, and mainly these things came from, you know, political groups. They had these ways of throwing arrows at your personality very discreetly. And I would get bent out of shape prior to joining the service, because I'd be like, I don't know why people are like that. But after I joined the service, after a lot of things, I would sit down and people would just throw fucking spears at me, and I would just look at them My glare alone would fucking incinerate those spears. My glare alone would incinerate that fucking shit. But it wasn't always about hardballing. The one thing that I can say that the Army did teach me was not to learn how to hardball, but know when to be flexible. It really helped my character develop into. It taught me how to be more flexible with other characters, how to work with other characters, and how to see through a lot of bullshit. And also how to maintain my cool through a lot of things. Now, as far as for my own personality, I had this personality of not cutting corners. It was already established before stepping into the military. So that was a contribution I felt that I could give to the military, that I wouldn't cut corners. But as far as the strength in my character, it actually was developed, from my dad, who was Army, and then from the service, which was Army, and it only got better and better, through all the many challenges that you have to overcome. And then, of course, the type of person that you have to be, So with all of those challenges, at the ending, I felt that there was, it would be relax. I would be able to relax after at the ending of those contracts, and then I get sidelined by, something like that. Any person, any veteran would be fucking tripping. Oh my fucking goodness, what did they say? They want to do what? Conservatorship, guardianship? Why? Why would you want to take away our freedom when we fought for freedom? Why would you want to take away anybody's freedom who fought for freedom? You see, so I mean, who wouldn't get upset? But that doesn't mean that I'm not proud of my service. Not mean that I'm not proud of my country. You're gonna have moments where you're going to disagree with things, but you also got to figure out where it's coming from. And in this case, I feel like it was a failure of not being proactive enough. Because how come I didn't know about this? These things don't happen overnight. These things happen throughout time, and then they make a determination. And sometimes the determinations that they make are not the most sound. Because for me, I think a determination like that is not, it's not sound at all. That's not a sound judgment. That's oh man, I'm tired of hearing this bullshit. Okay, this is the last, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Just put them in the conservatorship. And it's like, no, you have a broken system that is implemented that's not working. And conservatorship is not going to help it. It's actually going to make it worse, because you're allowing more corruption to be created in the form of possible human trafficking, possible abuse, and then it's going to cost you more money to fix it. You know how many lawsuits going to have? Possible lawsuits. Like for me, when I heard that, I said, oh shit, wow. One, do you know the community that you're dealing with? Two, do you not think that they know how to fight? How to fight this? I mean, that's basically all you learn in a service, is how to fight, either strategically or physically. You think about all the men and the women who are across international fighting this war, and you think about the strategies that they're using to fight this war, and you think about the determination they have to win, and then you take that little globe of information and you place them out of uniform. You place that concept on a group of people who is older but out of uniform. It's the same shit. You're messing around with a group that won't take shit like that very lightly, and then you're gonna end up paying more money to fix that problem too. So I think, this is my honest opinion, and it has nothing to do with because I fall within that scope of individuals, but it's because looking at it from someone who stepped out of the box, looking at the problem and the solution, it looks like a person who is just looking for a solution. and they didn't consider the other factors. So the most sound solution wouldn't be to put them in conservatorship, because then you're going to get lawsuits, and then you're going to get more issues, and you're going to have disgruntled people, and that's the people that used to win wars for you, and and then that's an injustice if you really look at it. And then it'll stop recruitment, because people will be like, bro, you heard about what nah, fuck that, I ain't gonna be no fucking veteran. They're gonna take away my damn rights. No thank you. The verbiage is very vague as to what category will be placed in conservatorship. So they have these two categories here, which is the two categories which, you know, is an issue. But then there's also this little rule to make a determination on anyone who has hardship. So when they say hardship and you look at that veteran population, most of them have. So who's to say that somebody won't use that for their own personal issues? Oh, I don't like that person. Oh, that person always give me a hard time. Because I tell you what, even I just know way more than whoever's making that. I just know a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things, you know. There's this thing where people say that sometimes I am the problem, because everywhere I went, there was a problem. You know, it wasn't I was a problem. It was that everywhere I went, there was a fucking problem. Like a major ass problem. Like the last job that I had with that, the housing support coordination, the guys raping the women, that was a major problem. They didn't want to deal with that. They would rather have terminated me than fixed that. The one after that, she was holding back paychecks and shit like that. That was a problem. Yep. Taking 8 hours of a person's paycheck and saying, oh, we'll give you that time to, you know, do XYZ. It's fine, don't worry. And then on the day before you get your paycheck, oh, we have to take 8 hours because you did this. But you gave me permission. You gave me authority. You said it was okay. And now you're gonna what? No, this is gonna be my last paycheck that I'm gonna have from you. Go find somebody else, because what you got right now can't do a better job than me. You know, everywhere I went, for some fucking strange reason, there was corruption, and I had called the shit out. So it's not that I was the problem. It was that I stepped into a fucking problem. And I called it out, because how many of those people that were being affected by it were being cheated, or were being abused, or were being harmed, and probably had many, many, many nights of crying, of being oppressed, of being harmed, and nobody was there to help them. You know, and then so, you know, God places me in these places, and I look and I see, and I'm like, oh, that's not supposed to happen. What the fuck? This place ain't perfect, but we can't be living in freaking chaos and fucking corruption all the time. Then this whole fucking world's gonna come to an end. You know what I'm saying? Remember when I said God set this place up to be a balance? So you have to have some good and some evil. And they have to kind of balance shit out. But if one overtakes the other, then this world's not going to exist anymore. So, you know, I don't know, call it God's will, or just it's either God's will or I'm an unlucky person. But this right here, I think that's what I feel. I feel maybe it was a failure on my end, because, you know, I was part of the Veterans Committee and I wasn't proactive with this thing. Matter of fact, I stepped out first, not stepped out, but I was, you know, I could have been a little more active than I actually was. You know, it's just, I was doing too much work that I felt that I shouldn't have been doing. And the outcomes of it was great, but it's the way the party was treating me. Okay, you do the work, but I'll get the glory. I'm like, fuck you. No, fuck you. How about this? Do it yourself. I know what I can do, and I know what you can do too, and I know how low you stoop. And to me, I think that's probably where a lot of the corruption in the government probably bred. The fact that, oh, you do this, I'll swindle you out of you. When you have a bunch of people in a setting that will take the glory from someone else who put the hard work in, then you're already going to create a bad atmosphere with people who have bad character. And when you have bad character, it's inevitable that you have bad judgment. So, when you have people like that and then you be electing them in, and I'm not saying this to every single politician, but I've seen my fair amount of politicians that shouldn't have been voted in. And, it's kind of a breath of fresh air that we finally have a cabinet that was strong enough to actually look out for America's best interests. And, in the case, like I said, everybody has interest. You know what I'm saying? So if a person decides to take a personal interest in certain things, you kind of weigh things out. Like for me, as far as POTUS, he's not even taking a paycheck, but he's doing a lot of work, and he's doing good work, and he's doing strong work. So when you look at that, and if he wants to take if he gets gifted a plane from Qatar, let him have it. Fuck, let him have it. That's his paycheck. Fucking $200,000. Fuck, that's a paycheck. The paycheck that he's not getting, so just give it to him. Fucking couple contracts, whatever. He working for free. When you see someone that'll actually dedicate, like they'll give up their paycheck, and they're running a country, and they're making really good cause, then it's a source. That's when you kind of be lenient. You kind of. I can't stand when people try to sweep the cake and sweep everything else too. It's like, look, be fair. That person ain't taking a paycheck. They got gifted a fucking airplane. So that the airplane is that person's check. Just gut the shit and make sure there's no fucking speakers or trackers on that shit. Or some kind of, fucking fucked up weapon. And give it to him. Let him have it. Crazy. But I just wanted to clear that up. That, hey, I'm not against my country, and I am not going to give up my citizenship because of something minute as that. I might just give up benefits so that I can step away from that shit because I like my freedom. I like my freedom. But they have to define who the guardian is. They have to define. It's too vague. The details of that policy is way too vague, and it gives too much opportunity for someone to apply some sort of corruption in that policy. It's to me, I think that would be a really bad policy. I think what they should do is restructure the financial situation and really analyze each veteran that's going through hardships and actually pinpoint what the hardship is. If it's drugs, then rehabilitation is an option. Rehabilitation and looking at their social structure. Okay, what got them on drugs? Okay, it was this PTSD, this situation, this trauma that happened in while they were serving. Okay, how was their family dynamics? What happened with the family dynamics? Okay, the family was good until this point, and then things got kind of abrupt and chaotic with the family. Okay, well then now we know that it's a social issue. Provide them more social support. If it's a financial issue and it's drugs and finances never go well, so you don't want to give them more money. That's when you have to kind of I guess that's where I see the conservatorship coming into play, the guardianship. But like I said, I worked in the social. I worked with case managers and social workers, And I've seen the things that you don't see. I've seen social workers and case managers take away their money and use it for themselves. They would steal the money, and they would write it off as, you know, an expense for their client, their case, but they were pocketing money. They were pocketing money from that person, and the way that they would treat them was very unfair. You know, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. There's no reason to tell them and deny them, but they're going to write it down as they did XYZ, and then they'll take that money and pocket it. You see, I've seen things that you didn't see. I worked at a facility, and it was case management, and the case manager next to me, and we were working with the homeless. The case manager next to me, she looked at me and she said, "Hey, you know what?" I said, "What?" We were onboarding, okay? She was like, "Man, you know, human trafficking is like a big thing." And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, it is. And I was thinking, where the fuck is she going with this? And she said, "They must make a lot of money, huh?" And I was like, "The fuck, selling people?" She's like, "Yeah, they must make a lot of money." And the way she was doing it was like she was trying to entice me, like she wanted to make it. It sounded like she was trying to introduce something, and I was looking at her. I said, "You seem so fucking unsafe." You seem so unsafe. I don't know how I feel about working with you. I don't know how I feel about working with you. And just by the grace of God, COVID-19 hit. And then I ended up working with Department of Health for the COVID. And so I felt that was a saving grace, because I felt that she was connected to some type of human trafficking. And I was like, you know, you're going to be working as case management with homeless women and children and men and boys. And I really don't feel that that's safe, you know, for you to be working with them. And so just, you know, these little experiences, because God took me all over the place, okay? Like, I'm telling you, I worked in so many different fields of interest, but my passion is working with my passion is working with hub communities. That's my passion. But as far as my professional background, I don't want to give too much information, but anyway, I would take the time to work with like hub communities, and I would see the amount of corruption there was there, and I would see how these people would get treated and how they would be taken advantage of and how they would be oppressed. And that's why I know I have an insight in that. I've witnessed. I'm a witness of it. And, you know, in most cases, I take the steps to, you know, try to help them. You know, and that could be where I landed the title problem. But it's more of a problem to let that type of corruption continue if you know about it. You know, if you know about it and you allow it to happen, then bad on you. You know, we all get scared about retaliation, but when you think about these things, these moments of corruption, you have to think about it. Is this the world that I want to leave behind for my kids? Because if you don't think that corruption doesn't spread like yeast, then you're wrong. Is this the world that I want? You know, is this the world that God called me to live in? Is this, you know, what is my calling? What is my calling from God? What does He want me to do? You know, what should I do? I just follow the scriptures and follow His laws. And it is to help those who are oppressed and help those who cannot help themselves without expecting anything back in return. Bro, if I got everything that I did back in return, then I'd be fucking sitting on a luxury hill. But that's really not what I'm after. It's just to do God's word. do God's work, and that's the only person I actually truly want to please. And it feels good, it feels really good. It feels super good when you do good by people. It doesn't feel good when people retaliate against you, but it feels good to know that I can go to sleep with a sound mind because I know I did good in this world. And if the Lord were to take me tonight, I'll be okay. I hope that the people around me will be okay. But bottom line, that's what it's all about. And I promise you, if you do good by people in this world, I promise you, I give you, you're not supposed to promise, but it's not an oath, so I just promise. You'll feel so much better. You'll be a happier person. When the world freaking falls apart in front of you, if it ever does, you'll still be happy, because happiness comes from your deeds. Not what you receive, but what you give. And it's not what you receive, but what you give. That's where true happiness comes from. And then you think about what you give to people. You're giving them grief, you're giving them hardships, you're giving them love, you're giving them kindness, you're giving them compassion, you're giving them mercy. What is the issue with the whole Free Palestine thing? They're playing on your mercy, but they never gave mercy. That's what makes it evil, is the fact that they never gave mercy to the Israelis, but they cried out mercy, and people heard them, and then they decided to help them. But they never showed any mercy to the Israelis when they were attacking them. IRGC too. They never showed any mercy to the Israelis, even after America attacked them. Still, they wouldn't show any mercy to the Israelis. That's where evil comes from. And it's so beautiful that people would show them mercy. Even the Israelis show them mercy. But it's so tragic that they themselves cannot give mercy to other people. And I look at that and I say, maybe that's a curse. Maybe that's a generational curse. Somebody has to break it. But if they continue on the path that they are in, and they decide not to show mercy, then that's going to be a road of corruption and evil. And the world has enough of that on its own, without a religion perpetuating that. See, mercy comes from God. Compassion comes from God. You feeling that compassion and mercy for someone means God is upon you. But when you don't feel the compassion and mercy for other people, it is a lack of God's presence. It's a lack of God's presence. When someone is about to wait, that's a bad example because I have no freaking idea about shit like that. but there should always be a sense of mercy and compassion. And that's humanity, That's what makes someone humane. But when you see none, and you see tantrum after tantrum, and you see someone saturated in their ideology, then that's a cult. It's a cult if you have no compassion. So how is it that these IRGC, what are the Shiites or whatever, Sunni, I don't know, these radical Islamists, they have no compassion, but yet you have people like the UAE, they have compassion. So some can say they're altering their own religious ideologies or religious beliefs, but in actuality, they're not. What they're doing is they're actually logically looking at the situation, and they're tapping into the intelligence. Because if you look at someone and you feel mercy and compassion, but yet you don't do it because you're following a teaching that tells you not to, But in your heart, you know, I need to help this person. I need to stop. But you don't stop because you are taught not to. You're brainwashed. You're following an ideology. You are part of a cult. Cults believe, not feel. They follow rules, not feel. Their determination comes from someone on the very, it's internal. Their determination comes from an ideology. It goes against what they feel, the human part of them, the human part of their heart. So, Palestine, free Palestine. Which brings me to something else. The whole tea time, okay? This is the epitome of the tea time. Okay, so remember that one professor from college? That was teaching Islam, right? She was teaching Islam, and she was teaching about, she taught Islam when she's a history teacher. And she was teaching the religion and venturing more into social sciences. Okay. This same professor, they decided to, not terminate her. I would feel really bad if she got terminated, but Mary no learn. So Mary does not learn. So what she did was she drafted an exam, and I posted up one of the questions she has, and in this question of Judaism, okay, she's talking about Judaism. Honestly, I look at that and I say, you don't know shit about Judaism. I can tell already, because the words that you use is incorrect. So one of the questions was, in the Exodus, the Jews, what was the question? Okay. Sis is deaf. Can you pass it to me? Hide her face because she doesn't want to be on the internet. My daughter refuses to be on the internet. She's like, I don't want to be on the internet. But she has really great ideas, and she's very photogenic. She's super photogenic. She has really great ideas. So, but she doesn't want to be on the internet. So I have to hide her face. Okay, what is the Exodus? Okay, so this is from her quiz. What is the Exodus? Jews being freed from bondage in Egypt and returning to Palestine. Abraham and his followers migrating to and settling in Egypt. The edict by Ramses II that all firstborn sons of Egypt be killed. Moses reaching the top of Mount Sinai and speaking to, she says, our God's name. She writes it down. I got so mad when I seen that, because I was like, bro, you definitely not from Judaism. And she spelled it wrong. And then the last was Indo-Europeans migrating to the Indus River Valley. And I was like, the only possible correct answer, the only correct answer here would more than likely be Jews being freed from bondage in Egypt and returning to Palestine. So this bitch is still fucking spreading propaganda. I'm fucking tired of this bitch. So I'm actually using the B word. So Jews being freed from bondage in Egypt. You guys are gonna get a special little lesson from Auntie Leslie. So Auntie Leslie was also a college professor. So you guys are in good hand, and I taught for 10 plus years, and every now and then I'll go back. Now, Jews being freed from bondage in Egypt. Wrong. Okay? Wrong. I know there's some of you looking at each other and being like, what is she talking about? It was the Jews. No, it was not. It was the Israelites. Jews came after. The term Jew came after. So it was the Israelites, the 12 tribes, okay, being freed from bondage in Egypt. Okay, so if she used the Israelites, then that would be correct. But because she's using the wrong term, And I don't care if people say, no, that is the right term. Hey, no. As Jews, we are detailed, okay? Don't give us your stupid definition. Give us the correct definition. And we are very detailed. So don't dumb down our freaking religion. Don't you dumb down our religion. So it's Israelites would be the correct answer. Israelites being freed from bondage in Egypt and returning to Israel. Okay, not returning. Not even returning. Oh, this lady. She don't even know the history. It's not returning to Israel. She wrote down returning to Palestine. Sorry. They were headed to Israel. Yeah, they were returning to Israel. I'm so sorry. But Israelites being freed from bondage in Egypt and returning to Israel. Now, she has Palestine. That's where I was getting mad. Sorry, I kind of mixed the two words up. If you watch me long enough, you know that sometimes I stumble on my words and I mix them up sometimes. I'm working on it, all right? Okay, this is tea time, all right? This is not a freaking professional lecture, although I am telling you guys that right now we're stepping into that area. Returning to Palestine. Okay, so let me give you guys some, for those of you guys who want to argue this shit, you know, because I would gladly like to have a debate with this freaking bitch. Or maybe a teacher, okay? I gotta stop being too aggressive. Maybe I teach you.
There's also more.
Is it all on here?
Yeah, but
Okay.
there's more.
Okay, show me. Thank you. So, I wanna. Oh man, I thought that first fucking time. Yeah, I don't think the drama was enough for the first time I went up to this fucking lady. Well, you know what? Actually, the administration didn't want me talking to her. They knew I was going to freaking fuck that shit up. But I don't want to be too aggressive with you because I want to still maintain my kindness and I want to try and present this in the best way possible. But, you know, she's getting on my damn nerves. But I'll teach you because you're very misinformed. Now, if I teach this professor the correct information, I expect her to use it. But if she continues using false information, then Dragon Lady is gonna fucking come out. I mean, well, not Dragon Lady, let's say Lion. Lioness. We don't do dragons here, right? But
She also compared God into a regular deity.
oh yeah, I remember that. I seen that. Yeah, that I remember you talking about that. I remember that. Oh, you so stupid.
There's also more.
No. I can't take any more stupid. I feel like I'm getting stupid too. You delete. No, hold that. Send that attachments to me. Send that to me, but I don't want to read it. I'll read it right before I step into a meeting with that person or a phone call with that person.
I already did it.
Oh, good. Thank you so much, kiddo.
You're welcome. Can I have a water bottle?
Can you get it yourself? What am I? You're not a 5-year-old anymore. What the hell?
It's by your side.
It's the kind of way we talk to each other. You don't want a photo bomb? See, I told you guys, my daughter, she's so nice and sweet, but you know, honestly, she can fight. The kindest, sweetest girl in the whole wide world. But man, if she ever got into a fight, ooh, that person gonna get it. But you know, with her character, she doesn't get into fights at all, and that's a good thing. But what the heck? Oh yeah, so I can't read that right now because every time just that first question just made me feel stupid already. You know how they say birds of a feather flock together, and what you surround yourself with, that's what you become. I felt kind of dumb after that. I was like, what the fuck? How's she getting paid for this? Like, Are you serious? Like, she's getting paid for this. She's getting paid to spread wrong information. Let's not shortchange our kids here in Hawaii, all right? They freaking, when they go to college, they feel smart, they feel good. Let them be smart, bitch. Don't fucking teach them stupid ass shit. So, so Palestine. Okay. Palestine was never Arabic. You know, like how Palestine, Free Palestine, and the Gazans are like, Palestine was there before. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. The Arabs that told the truth said not. No, it wasn't either. The Arabs that tell the truth said that's not true. It was Israel. So let me shed the same fucking light in a different way to y'all. And then I'll break it down for her too. It was called the Roman province of Palestine. That was the whole name. That was a complete name. It was the Roman province of Palestine. Oh wait. Or Palestine, the Roman province. The Roman province, Palestine. That's what they were referred to as the Roman province, Palestine. Because it was a Roman name, and like they erased the original names because it would erase the culture. Okay, and that's why it was called Palestine. So all your Arabs that saying Palestine is my country, Palestine. No, that's not your country. If you look at it, that's Rome's. Rome owned that shit. Rome renamed it to Palestine. Palestine's not an Arabic name. It's called the province. The Roman province of Palestine. Because it was owned by Rome and not Arabs. So the last time I came on, I said, you know, I was talking about Italy, right? And I was saying that you guys are too strong of a people. The thing is, believe it or not, they kicked Islam's ass in history at one point. They kicked Islam's ass in history at one point. Do you know why? Why Rome intentionally did what they did to the Israelis? Do you know why Rome intentionally, no, at that point they weren't Israelis, they were Jews. Do you know why Rome did what they did to the Jews? It was because the Israelites were fucking tapped. There were warriors that had a conquest and a military that was stronger than fucking Sparta and Greece. Sparta and Greece, like fucking Rome and Greece, the Israelites were so strong and powerful at war that they made an alliance with Israel. And if you don't believe me, read Maccabees. That's where it started. The Israelites were hard fucking warriors. The Maccabees were one of the most tapped, hardest warriors. And they made an alliance, not the Israelites. Rome and Greece allied with Israel to become one force, to be part of a force. So you see how Israel and US is allies? That's what happened. Two strong countries that are really well equipped for war. Same thing happened with Rome and Greece. They allied together because they were the three strongest in war, in military at that time. And of course, you know, when you come across, you know, three big whips, there's going to be someone in that group that's going to want to take over. But they also would know that in order for me to take over, because this land is flourishing, I have to weaken them. You know what I mean? Why do you think they had such a fucking iron stronghold on freaking Israel? because warriors came out from our tribes. It wasn't Islam. But Islam tried to take over, like they're trying to take over right now, with bullshit lies and propaganda. So when you say Palestine, just remember that was a reminder that you were taken over. That little Arab strip was taken over by Rome. But it was also to vex our Jewish people. It was to vex our Jewish people, because my Jewish people were the fucking shit, just like my Kanakas at one point. They were the fucking shit when it came to war. Do I not stand correct today? It's just, you see these, birds of a feather flock together. Greece, they were warriors. Rome, they were warriors. Israel, Rome, and Greece were allies, strong allies, because Israel became one of the top leading warriors in the Middle East. They did not make that alliance with Islam, not that I know of. Rome didn't get taken over by Islam. They tried. The only one I think was actually taken over in history was Spain. Yeah, Spain was actually taken over by Islam, and that's why I feel Spain has a really strong influence from Islam, and that's why I say, Spain, keep cooking your pork. Keep cooking your lechon. I don't know what you call it there, but you just keep cooking that. That's like your mosquito repellent. I'm not saying that we want to completely annihilate, destroy, and we definitely don't want to do that to anybody. We just want to minimize the disaster, potential disaster. So that's some history facts 101. You don't want to believe me? Go look it up yourself. Go look it up yourself. And if you want to, especially those of you in the military, if you want to read one of the best books of war, read Maccabees. Okay? Read Maccabees. Maccabees comes in 2 books. First book and the second book of Maccabees, and it shows the different perspectives of Maccabees. I swear, like the first book, it shows you the physical aspect of the war. So there's this, and this is why I love it. And that's why when people would talk to me and they would be like, when I was a Christian minister and people would talk to me and they're in the military, and I would be like, they would be like, I can't follow Christianity because I'm a sinner. I'm a service member. I said, I'm a fucking service member too. What the fuck are you talking about? But if you read the book of Maccabees, then it's a breakdown of war and how you look at war through spiritual eyes. Like reading the book of Maccabees was one of the best books, I swear, that I read in the Bible. When I was younger, I didn't understand it. As I got older, and especially when I stepped into the service and I read the book of Maccabees, I was like, oh, prayer is really important. Especially if you're part of the military, prayer is damn important. Because it shows you one aspect of the war. It shows you the physical aspect and everything that was going on in the physical sense. And the second book of Maccabees tells you and explains to you the spiritual aspect of war, of how God's angels came down and how God won that war for the Israelites by his angels. And it shares how people were getting shot at, and it would always miss them because the angel before them hit it down. And that was because of the prayers that they prayed prior to stepping into a war and the things that they did. And they held strong to the traditions before entering the war. And so when people would talk to me about, oh, I'm a service member and, war and Christianity, they don't go hand in hand, I was like, ooh, you did not read the Bible, did you? You didn't read the Bible. You missed it. Because there's war in Exodus. God explains what happens and how you do it and why you do it. God explains how he is part of that process. And then there's the Maccabees. And when the Maccabees, in the book of Maccabees, God tells you, okay, this is what happened in the natural sense. These are the things, and that's how they conquered the war in the natural sense. It gives you the whole story in the natural. And then the second book of Maccabees, it seems like when you're reading it, they're just repeating themselves. But then in the second book of Maccabees, it shares the spiritual aspect of how God's angels played a role in those wars, and how God himself played a role in those wars. So yeah, it is amazing when you actually read. And if you're not a strong reader, then put an audiobook on. Go to YouTube, slap the audio on, type in Maccabees 1, Maccabees 2. Don't just type Maccabees, because you might just get a compilation of both together. I don't know how that works, okay? But I would type in Maccabees 1 and then Maccabees 2. God tells you the physical aspect and the spiritual aspect of war. And then when you step in, if you're a man that has to step into war, after reading that book, you're gonna be very close to God. It's gonna be easier for you to pray to God. It's gonna be easier for you to be a Christian. It's gonna be easier for Judaism. You don't have to really explain that part, because Judaism, it's part of the culture. But as a Christian, if you're a Christian, then you're gonna want to read that book. If you're a service member, you stepping into war, you're gonna want to read that book, because you're gonna see God in every step of that book. And you're going to see God in every step of your life if you're about to step in combat. Because in Maccabees, it was close combat. Everything was close combat. And even those on the air who fight a distant war, like you fight the war at a distance, it still tells you how God will guide your hand in everything that you do. You might be working on the computer, God's guiding your hand. You might be up in the sky, in that plane or in that chopper, God's guiding your hand. His hand is on you through his angels that sit beside you, in the front of you, and around you. It explains that aspect of war. Does Islam have that? I'm telling you guys, if you are a Muslim, you're watching this, you better try Christianity. Judaism is an ethno religion, so you're gonna have to do a lot of conversion and shit like that. It'll take you some time, and if you have the urge to kill them while you're learning, that's not a good idea. You go learn Christianity. So at least you're not gonna want to try and stab them while they're teaching you. Okay, we can't be having that shit. You got that ideology stuck in your head, and a Jewish person is trying to help you convert, and you're going to want to fucking try to harm them. No. We don't do that. Go learn Christianity so you can behave and learn. But yeah, remember, Palestine is not Arab. Don't fall for that. It is a province, Roman province, Palestine. Okay, Roman province. Palestine is a Roman province, so it was never, ever, ever in history. The Gazans are the Palestinians that call themselves Palestinians today. If you call yourself a Palestinian, I'm sorry, but you're owned by Rome, that a part of Rome that doesn't exist right now. You're definitely not a Roman citizen. But you're staying, that's why you use the traditional Middle Eastern name, which was Israel. It's Israel. That's the actual name. And if we were to go back in time and talk to the Romans, then the Romans would agree too. Because in that agreement, they also would say, we conquered that land. That's ours. That's why we call it the Roman province. So yeah, shit, I think I spent too much time on here. Fuck, I can't even get my own damn work done. Anyway, that was Tea Time with Pink Crush 808 or Auntie Leslie. I'll see you guys. And remember what I said. Just because I have my little freaking, tantrum, that wasn't even a tantrum. Just because I said what I said the last time I came on, which was on Sunday, that doesn't mean that I am not proud to be a U.S. citizen. That doesn't mean that I'll turn my back on my country. Just means I'm gonna try and dodge that bullet. That's all it means. I'm gonna fucking try and dodge that damn bullet. Motherfuckers, don't make me get married prematurely. I'm just joking. Anyways, that's Tea Time with Pink Crush 808. Auntie Leslie. Love, peace, and aloha. Check you guys later. Hey, what the fuck? It won't let me. Oh, there.